This bike is a beast. And that's not coming from me, but Cannondale themselves. It is the 1992 M800, which features a Beast of the East 3.0 aluminum frame. In a time when mountain biking did not yet have a gazillion subcategories, the geometry of this frame was quite remarkable, as it came with a slightly raised bottom bracket and aggressively sloped top tube for extra ground clearance and agility. This particular one is in the diamond black metallic with blue pearl hyper highlight colorway. And if that kind of sounds familiar to you, well, it's basically half the design of the 95 M2000 that we featured here recently. It is in fact the exact same design, just without the purple pearl hyper highlight. Components wise, it is still mostly in stock condition with vintage Panaracer tires, the original saddle and grips, as well as the DuralX pedals with the original toe clips. The only replacement part that I can make out is a somewhat more modern LX rear mech. Since you don't come across such time capsule bikes too often, and even less so in a size that I can actually ride, I thought that before we rebuilt this bike, we should give it a proper send-off and check out its trail shredding capabilities one last time. And to allow me to take you along with me on this ride, I'm happy to say that this video is sponsored by HoverAir. Their X1 Pro Max is an autonomously flying drone that allows me to capture these third-person follow-along shots. We'll talk about my experience with this drone in a dedicated video, but for now, let's focus on the bike itself. Obviously, we need to bear in mind that this bike and the rubber that is connecting us with the trail is more than 30 years old. Rubber becomes harder and more rigid as years go by, so the grip level is quite poor. Combine that with a 150mm long stem, and compared to modern standards narrow handlebars, it's not exactly a recipe that exudes confidence. And of course, what I said about rubber also applies to plastic components. So I've been riding for about 5 minutes now, and this happened. That being said, the bike is still extremely nimble. You can throw it from side to side effortlessly, and it's tons of fun to ride, even in this state. And that is despite the fact that the old LX shifters also have a bit of a mind of their own. Half the time they refuse to do their job, and so I'm hardly ever in the right gear. Sometimes they will eventually do what you've asked of them, just with a slight delay. I assume the main issue here is that the grease inside the shifters has hardened, so it should be fixable, but since I have a big rebuild plan for this frame, it would be pointless to spend time on that now. But all those caveats, or call them excuses if you want, should not stop us from giving it the beans and ride towards the sunset on this beautiful autumn day. Eventually, I felt like it was time to look for a nice spot by the river, have a snack, and just appreciate the fact that I would get the opportunity to breathe new life into this bike. I like to believe the bike also enjoyed being taken for one last spin before the beginning of a new chapter in its life. Like I said, the bike is my size. Luckily it's not green or purple, so that should make it a little easier to part ways with it again. If you like the end result, it will be available for purchase on the website. Maybe. We won't be reusing these cranks on this build. In fact, I have something quite special planned to go on here. But to make my life easier on a future build, I did clean the rough dirt off of them. First step for improving the appearance of the frame is some scratch repair paste, and then we're going over the whole frame with Nigrin polishing compound. Two of the brake buzzers came out when I removed the brakes, but that's actually quite an easy fix. The part where you drop everything is optional. looks quite clean. The name of this bike shop should sound familiar. When we purchased this bike, it was not alone. We actually got two M800s on the same day. Classic his and hers situation. I didn't feel like the sticker really blended in well on the previous build, but on this one, it's definitely staying. When it comes to building custom wheels, the black Dior LX hubs on black halo rims combination is something that you're probably familiar with on this channel. This time I want to add a bit of a twist with blue spoke nipples. But first, these hubs need a good cleaning and servicing. And this is the result. Of course, our wheels still need skewers, and for that I think we have several options. All these four colors are part of the frame design, so all could make sense. I think we just need to try them out and see what works, what doesn't. And you can never go wrong with black, but yeah, maybe we can add some more color, some more highlights. Let's see. So I think we can rule out blue. It's just too bright. It's not the right shade of blue, so it really does stick out quite a bit. So yeah, not blue. I mean, this could work, but again, the silver is really bright, so I think it's a bit too attention grabby, especially with the black wheels. There's going to be quite a big contrast, so I think no. I kind of want this to work, but I think this illustrates what I just meant. It's just yeah, a bit too in your face. Even if you look at the bike as a whole, I think this is a bit too much, especially since we already have colored highlights with the spoke nipples. So yeah, I think the boring black solution it is. I say boring, but I think this is just objectively the best integration. All right, let's move on. In the last M800 video, I talked about the fact that the 1¼ inch stereo tube is very uncommon, and I effectively had to plan the entire build around the stem that I couldn't replace. One of you guys commented on this and taught me the word unobtainium. Well, it turns out I was able to obtain a replacement stem for this build today. This one is 120 millimeters. Remember, the stock one was 150. And I think these 3 centimeters, they'll make quite a difference in handling. Turns out they weren't kidding when they said super short bolt. Not fully decided on the handlebars yet. So for the time being, I will mount the stock flat bars, and then we'll decide in the end how we feel. But I want to have them installed so we can lock this whole cockpit in place and it doesn't move about all the time. For all your acceleration and deceleration needs, I have lined up a range of DRXT components from the M739 range. The front derailleur is the 738 model, as that is the one with bottom pull. But the highlight of this build are going to be the cranks. They are the Cannondale original Coda M501 cranks that I recently took off the M2000. It is the first generation of Cannondale's cranks that were CNC machined out of a solid block of aluminum. They shaved off more and more weight on subsequent generations. You can see the difference when compared to the M502 cranks, where you can already see the third chainring. But I really like the chunky appearance of this first generation, and I think this is the perfect build where this look will blend right in. So I think we have two options. One would be silver and just very clean, which I think matches the cranks nicely. And the other would be some color and add some blue. For the grips, I have chosen Cannondale TrailShroom grips. They are a current model, so not vintage new old stock or something. But the nice thing is that the Cannondale branding from today is very similar to the one from the early 90s, so it works perfectly, and they're also nice and grippy. Oh, and we also stock them now, so they're available in the web shop. So I just realized that this is not the right part for this derailleur. You can see there's a straight ridge going along here for the cable. This also has a straight ridge at the bottom, but if we try and line those up, it simply doesn't work. That's why it was originally installed like that. It should come with just a regular, kind of like a washer ring. So we will replace that with something else. Earlier I said the handlebars were still on probation and might change in the course of the build. Well, I ended up liking this solution so much that I also installed flat bars on the other, the red M800. That bike is still available for purchase as well, and what can I say? I ended up overhauling the build quite a bit. Gone are the orange grips. Instead I added smaller orange accents with anodized bolts and barrel valve caps. And I also switched to tan wall tires. Tan walls just look so good on everything in my opinion, and I often try to resist the urge to slap them on all builds, but I think they just add so much to this bike. So yeah, this one is also available and is also in a more standard frame size. But now, back to the other beast. On a cold autumn morning, as the fog was dissipating, the city woke up, unaware that a beast had come back to life. Of course, looks are one thing, but what really matters is how the bike rides now.